1, 2.
Hey everyone. So we're going to be starting our medical VR panel right now.
It's going to be the best panel of the day.
Best panel of the day. So I'm going to go outside and wrangle more people to get back inside.
Come on, people.
Come on, everyone.
Stop
medical
smoking
VR.
weed. Stop buying that medical marijuana and come on in.
And this is Sandra Cannon. We're at VR Fest in Las Vegas. We're at Planet 13, the largest marijuana dispensary in the United States. We're in their event area, which is separate from the marijuana area, but and it's really beautiful, and we thank you for being here. I'm here, and I'm going to let you guys introduce yourself briefly, and then I'll have some questions.
Great. I'm Nanea Reeves. I'm CEO of a company called Trip with 2 Ps. And we are taking technologies out into the market in ways that help people feel better and improve their sense of emotional well-being. We're currently live in an addiction recovery facility in Los Angeles, as well as a very large enterprise company that I can't mention right now as an employee wellness offering. We just started launching as an enterprise solution in December and are starting to roll out a couple more companies this January.
What's the name of your company?
Trip, T-R-I-P-P. It should be up, oh no, it was up there. T-R-I-P-P, you can go to trip.com and find out more about us.
Great, thanks. I'm Chris Brickler, CEO of MyndVR, M-Y-N-D. We purposely dropped the Y to the I to a Y to give some purposefulness and ownership to the audience that we serve, which are senior citizens. So we develop turnkey solutions using virtual reality for all kinds of different types of senior living communities.
Okay, so both of these areas are really, really well needed, really good uses of VR. I'm going to ask you some questions. Have you done any studies? Do you have studies that are proving what you're saying so far? And then secondly, are you FDA approved, or do you found a way that you don't need to be FDA approved?
I can answer from we're also right now starting to work with, we have someone at end stage liver cancer who's 80, using our product 2-3 times a day, starting to collect data. We are currently just starting a trial with Florida International University and the University of Colorado National Mental Health Innovation Center at Anschutz Medical, specifically using our product and trying to identify its impact on employee stress reduction. So that's our first study participation. The FDA approval path is a little further out. It is possible we could look at 510K approval shortly, but right now we're excited about the new guidelines that people are working on to fast-track digital therapies, because we don't have the same risk profile that a substance has. And there's a consortium that was started in 2017 to look at what those requirements would be. I think it's amazing when you see a company like Pear Therapeutics get FDA approval on a mobile application for addiction recovery management, but they went through the full process. And I think what that, they pioneered the way in getting the FDA to consider looking at a new set of guidelines for approval. So I would expect around 2020, you'll see a lot more companies like Trip and others looking at FDA approval processes.
Yeah, I agree with the FDA perspective. It's quite a cumbersome piece of work for what we're doing right now, which is providing fantastical experiences that blend recreation and therapy. When we do move into digital prescriptive virtual reality for age-relating conditions, we're hoping to also leverage some of the fast-track FDA movements that are happening. So in terms of your other part of the question, research, very important to our business. We've created a national research coalition that's headed by a very esteemed science board at MyndVR, with folks from Universities of Stanford, USC, University of Texas, University of Pennsylvania. We've got 6 different university trials going on right now. We also have 2 trials just concluding with private, very large operators of senior living communities in the United States. And the results have just been off the charts in terms of mood improvement, certainly for lesser functioning folks. When we look at memory care, which affects so many, unfortunately, Americans across dementia and Alzheimer's, we are seeing that virtual reality has a really powerful tool. If it's applied right in a love, care, compassion model, we can really impact the life and better the life of that person that's lesser functioning. And they, there's a big, I think, perception issue around dementia in general, that those folks stop learning and their brain stop functioning. Well, it's not really true. I don't believe that, and our company doesn't believe that. So we do VR, and in this latest study, we witnessed so many folks actually expressing opinions, discernment, showing empathy towards animals in videos, things that are not normal in their daily routines. So when we were able to extract those type of things in these trials and actually datafy what we're doing.
How did you datafy?
Well, we have teams of people collecting data, with teams of seniors.
Well, I can tell you our approach, which is actually, I think, very innovative, and we worked with a lab to develop it. We have a big data platform. Our experiences are connected. When you start TRIP, we ask you, using the STAY scale, a 10-point scale, how are you feeling at the beginning of the session? We also give you a PANIS display of different moods that are randomized every session, so we're controlling against position bias. And we say, tell us what moods, and they just look at the mood and it selects it. And we do the same at the end of the session, as well as get a rating. And from that, every session, we can quantify a self-reported emotional, what we call an emotional well-being score. And then our mobile app, which will be done at the end of this quarter, will allow us to tie heart rate variability to the session data. And then we're testing right now twice-a-day notification on the same mood interface, but through mobile, so we can track any extended benefit in the data set. So that was designed with Stanford and Walter Greenleaf at Stanford, as well as the team at University of Colorado, so that our data sets would map to existing CBT mood profiling, but then now we're getting biometric input with the heart rate variability. And then once eye tracking is available, we can track pupil and iris changes and map that data set, which there's a very robust mapping to mood with the pupillometry data. So then we start to get foundations for some type of new digital biomarker that's specific to mood management. So it's interesting. We're already live with that and measuring session mood improvement in real time. Yep.
Can I add one other thing? Kind of to build on Nene's point. In our world, dealing with folks that have Alzheimer's and dementia, unfortunately, there's an acute agitatory status that happens a lot of times, sundowning, and it really causes a lot of stress on the resident, it causes a lot of stress on the staff. So what we've been testing in our studies and datafying is what is the positive behavior improvement after the virtual reality experience, and that the data is coming back
so
exceptionally
the mobile
well.
app
We're
is
seeing
key for that, for us, yeah.
We're seeing 25% increase in positive behavior in our early trials.
I have 2 dementia parents at home, so yay. Yeah. This next question may be pedantic, but I think we all need to learn from each other, and so I'm going to ask you how people are billed for your product.
Oh, okay, yeah. As an employee wellness offering right now, going into corporations, We have a whole cart that has the charging unit because we didn't want the device to get stuck into, so it's kind of our own location where people can grab the unit, check it out with a QR code.
What unit?
We're live on the Google Daydream Lenovo device because we have full remote access ability. We can update the devices with new executables. We know when the batteries are run down. Any issues, we can even update the Wi-Fi settings. So in the case study that we're doing with this elderly man at end of life, we can actually help him quite a bit by knowing what's happening with the device, because he's not as technically savvy. So we know when it's not being charged, we know when it's not connected, et cetera, and we can help him with that. So that remote management is key for any clinical deployments, as well as these corporate deployments. If you can't, it's not scalable to have someone go out to the facility and debug something happening.
Do you have somebody 24/7 monitoring?
Well, yeah, sure. We have a whole NOC service monitoring. When you have big enterprise customers like we have started to launch currently, we have to provide that level of support. So yes, just like any live service. I ran live video game services for a long time, and downtime's not acceptable. So we charge a per system install fee. Many of the companies that we're talking to right now, and we just, as I mentioned, launched a big one in December, we will usually start off with 20 to 30 units, and there's a per unit fee with the cart that we have. And then each unit also has an annual service subscription. That's recurring revenue. We send monthly supplies. You have to think hygiene. The devices also need to be fully wipeable, which makes some devices that are fabric-based not viable in a clinical or corporate setting. So these enterprise, even the face gasket has to be fully wipeable. So we ship all the masks and the ear covers for the headphones, et cetera. So it's all hygienic.
So MyndVR, we launched our business in April 1st of 2018. Quickly have grown into operations in 18 states in 8 months. So it's taken off really well. I think our pricing model is part of that. We have a very simple and affordable pricing model where we package the headsets, the content, which is updated monthly, so they get fresh content monthly, and then training and service and support. So it's kind of a SaaS business with virtual reality.
Yeah, we're doing the same, but we update daily. Our experience updates daily.
So are you doing white label content, or are you generating your own content?
Great question. Yeah, we look at ourselves a lot like Netflix. We license about 80% of our content. From the Discoveries and the Discovery VRs and National Geographics and thousands of producers around the world. And then we also produce about 20% of our content. So there's not a lot of people out there in the industry, and this is a call out for anybody that knows anybody that likes to produce content for seniors. What we've spent 18 to 25 months working on is reimagining virtual reality away from the millennial over to a senior citizen.
Right.
Well, in that journey, we've obviously realized that there's not a lot of people out there working on content for seniors. So we've had to create a lot of our own, and I spent 8 or 9 years in Hollywood as a producer and director, so I bring a little bit of that to the company, and then we have a MyndVR Studios where we create, we just launched a new series, for instance, called Route 66, A Road to Remember. So it's an 8-part series that every month there's a new episode.
Oh, that's great.
And then there's a lot of spiritual content that we're working on, and nature.
Spiritual, generic spiritual, or?
All the above. Yeah, depending, your choice.
So our experience is interactive. Trip is, we take sound frequencies and visuals and gameplay mechanics that trigger flow states. And then it's a mood catalog, but we build the experience procedurally, so it changes every day. At 11:11 at night, we drop a new asset load, because we were really trying to drive for replayability and repeatability, but also because it's generated procedurally, and we get all those data inputs on the beginning and the end of the session, we can also train our AI to start to understand what does Greg respond to differently from Chris, and identify different cohorts, so what seniors might like. And then eventually the machine will get trained where the experience is generated specifically to the individual, so you get into kind of precision, medicine, as it were. And that's our long-term goal. We're building the AI right now. We spent the last 16 months after we got funded building the procedural engine, and that's what's live. So it's driving, I believe that's why we're seeing daily usage on Trip. We have one Trip type available. It's called Focus, and it brings your awareness to the present moment. Chill will be done in about 90 days, which is a deep relaxation where we've turned breath into a game, and it unlocks different levels of ascension. And we haven't announced it yet, but we have just licensed our first third-party content that we felt was at a level of quality that could sit alongside our experience in a catalog. We don't do a lot of 360 video because ours is interactive and it's created procedurally. And we feel that that's pretty well represented out there, but we are talking to some brands in the mindfulness area that could be viable 360 video content for our channel.
What kind of soundtracks are you doing?
Our music is adaptive. Justin Beretta from the Glitch Mob is our creative director. So he just played last night at the Alienware party. He's been working with us since we started the company. He and his team have delivered these sound loops that are done in layers, and so it's a new composition every time you do a trip, every day or every session. And then we thought about intra-day variability as well, because we wanted to look at lighting schemes and tie that to your circadian clock. And so when you do Trip now, if you do it in the morning, it's a slight variation. Then how it looks in the evening, we adjust the palette with the same asset bundle that you get, but it's composited differently with every session throughout the day. And then tomorrow, it's a completely new experience, new audio, new vision. A couple people have tried it here. It's a unique experience.
Can I make a comment on music? Music is so important to MyndVR because it's pretty well known that music and memory have a very interesting connection in the neural pathways, especially with folks that are facing with mild cognitive impairment. So what we've done at MyndVR is created an entire genre, an order of magnitude more powerful, we believe, than an iPod playing a Frank Sinatra song. We've actually recreated a 1950s jazz club with 35 actors coming in. Everybody looks the 1950s part. The band's playing the songs. You're feeling like you're on a night out, not just listening to on the iPad, or iPod. So that is really important, that type of stuff, but we also have a whole genre, whole catalog developing of classical music where we record in 360 video classical pianists playing, Chopin to Mozart to all these public domain pieces. So it's really a fascinating part of our business, the music side of
there's
things.
so much data on the effects of that, and senior, I love that. We have, again, ours is more of an interactive procedural approach, and I think coexisting is such a nice, in these use cases, there's a lot of synergy in the different approaches, stimulating different responses from a, so we use binaural beats, isochronic tones as well, sound frequencies. Right now we're mostly targeting theta, but you could see us looking at alpha, more stimulating focus things downstream, and delta for more sleep preparation experiences.
So Frank Sinatra is not my genre, but
Right, yeah.
when I play it on Amazon Alexa at home, I know what I get in improvement from the dementia with that.
I'm wondering if, like, my generation is going to be, like, listening to the Sex Pistols, and triggering different responses.
Grateful
Or
Dead.
NWA.
We're getting requests for ZZ Top and all these other types of rock bands with seniors. So it's pretty interesting.
Okay, so I want to hear your motivation for getting into this and why this is a driving passion.
Such a good question. So I've worked in the video game industry a long time, and have been a serial entrepreneur, with some, good track record. And I lost my sister in 2012 to a drug overdose, and then lost my husband to cancer in 2015. And so when I was thinking about how to rebuild my life, and I have a deep meditation practice, I started to think about, against my will, I found I was sitting in this clearing, and I could build from the ground up. And I thought, I have this track record, and I can raise capital, and what's the company look like that I really want to run from this point in my life? And what do I love the most? I love video games and meditation and trying to do something meaningful, and this weird product called Trip came out of that. And also the desire to work with people I like. So my partner, Zach Norman, my co-founding business partner, this is our fourth company together. We were pioneers in the mobile gaming space early on, and also in the video game industry and mobile messaging, and started to think about, there's an approach to building a company and being a leader that can have real impact, not only outwardly, and using tech for good, but also in the culture that you're creating where people are purpose-driven, and you're also working with companies and potentially partners like Chris and Ted at MyndVR, who you like. We have common advisors like Walter. There's this whole community of people who are very well established and credentialed, coming together and figuring out how do we solve some big problems. And I find that at this stage in my life, maybe it's because I'm feeling like, what's my legacy going to be or whatever, how do we do things that have real impact? And when you look at also how to quantify that, but do them in ways where it's a good business idea. And the cool thing is you're starting to see even the most conservative bankers and investors getting in the same mind frame. So there's something happening. And then you look at corporations, the most conservative out there, with chief wellness officers, allocations of budgets to mental health issues. I think it's a wonderful time to be playing in this space. And it also creates a wonderful environment for talented people to come together and show up to work with a real mission and purpose-driven mindset. And that shows up in the products they build. I'm really seeing some great things happen, not only in our own team, but in other companies out there.
Yeah, I mean, I ditto. I won't repeat too much of that, but there's not too many times in life where you can put 25 years of career experience. For me, it's been in technology and film production, and some cognitive science as well. But blend those three things together to do something really good. And I think there's really, after I got into this business, I really have become more acutely aware of how we overlook our senior citizens in this country. And I think that this feels good for all of our team because we have a love, care, compassion culture about bringing some dignity to our folks that are in these four walls of existence every day of their life. And what we try to do is lift them out of the four walls into what we call the fifth quadrant, which is this point of connection between their consciousness and connection with nature and art and animals and all these energies in our planet that they kind of lose as you get older. So to bring some of that back is why we do it.
I have so many more questions for you guys, but we only have 5 more minutes.
Yeah, but one thing I just wanted to point out, during this conversation, there's very little talk specifically about VR, because VR is just the current vehicle of delivery. It's more about focusing on the benefits of the application, and immersion is the inherent property. And I think we'll see more technology innovation, if we can just get beyond the device delivery and think of it more about just using technology in ways that can be beneficial.
Yeah, I was going to say my next question is your willingness. How are you finding the willingness of the participants? In the dementia case, I said I have two parents. One will do it, one won't. One can't. One can't use a cell phone, but the other one that does, I've had amazing things happen. And then with addiction, I work a lot with. I volunteer in an addiction place, and I was thinking I was going to bring VR there, but they can't sit still. So, you know, the willingness is, how are you finding that?
Well, I mean, there's a part of the population for memory care and dementia and Alzheimer's that this will never work for. It just will not. But we're finding that there is a fairly large, I would say 50 to 70% of the population that are open to trying it. And once they try it, then they get used to it. But you have to approach it in a very loving way. I mean, you can't just put a big VR goggle on somebody's head and expect them to, not have a negative reaction. So that we have to be very caring about how we put that into place with dementia.
We, with the addiction recovery clinic that we're in, the outpatient clinic, they set up a lounge, and we optimized our experience for comfort. So it's only 7 to 8 minutes long, the session, the trip session. So they do it as a grounding mechanism as a group before they go into group therapy. So that the director operationalized it. And then in the residential program that they also run, it's part of the morning meditation practice. So they do it because it's much easier for them to do that. They've integrated mindfulness training as part of their whole, and it's one of the 12 steps of Alcoholics and Narcotics Anonymous as well. Step 11 is prayer and meditation. And so they know the benefits of it. Trip is actually a little easier to get that respite and kind of go through mindfulness structures without you actually having to sit and try not to think, which is very difficult for someone in early recovery. So they're using it 4 to 5 times a week daily in the morning. And so that's been really interesting. We've been live since August, so the data set is robust. And then we do a weekly survey extended with them, capturing self-reported stress and craving levels so we can look at the impact on that.
Do you, will either of you have demos here tomorrow? Because I guess we're closing it.
Yeah, we're showing private demos at our suite at the Tower Suites at the Wynn. So if you're interested and you'd like to come try Trip, there's a couple of hours that we'll be jumping people into demos. Just because you sat through this, I'll be more than happy to schedule that with you tomorrow before we leave. Yeah.
And MyndVR is doing demos out of my backpack right here. Yeah. But no, we weren't really planning on coming to CES.
You're
actually.
Welcome to come sit in our suite at the Wynn,
great.
too, and we can do them both together. I'd be happy to do that.
We appreciate that. We weren't actually planning on coming to CES because we have pretty much a B2B offering. Even though we do serve consumers, the senior consumer, we serve the senior communities. But having said that, we came because we're now part of the HTC Vive Accelerator. And that's been a really wonderful. Thank you, yeah. Thank you. No, it's been wonderful working with this company. Pearlie was up here on the last panel talking about humanity and their commitment to using this VR technology for a much bigger purpose. And that's one of the reasons why we align so well, I think, with HTC. And now to come out here and meet all the other folks in that camp and see the innovation that they're thinking about.
And they have a fully wipeable enterprise.
Exactly.
The only thing I think they're working on right now is the remote management access.
That's
so
right. Yep.
Then we'll shift to their device as well.
My 95-year-old loves HTC Vive, and I cured his vision with it.
Yeah.
Okay, so that
wonderful.
is all the time we have. I'm sorry we
Great.
cut short, and I really appreciate you guys coming. Good information.
Thank you very much.
Great.
Oh, yes.
For the video? Do you have time for a 3-minute video? I just had a comment as well when anyone sets that up. I was lucky enough to try Trip in LA when I was there. And just living in a country where people don't have access to mental health care one day available when people are feeling anxious or nervous. I did it and I loved it. It's still to this day one of my favorite experiences.
Oh, thank you for saying that.
I love Trip too. Thank you. So great.
We're gonna work together to get seniors.
Absolutely. Is the video ready?
Reality, she and her friends at Brookdale Freedom Village got to travel the world and into outer space.
It's called MyndVR, a form of non-invasive technology that's used not only for entertainment, but also for therapy for hundreds of senior citizens across the country. So how does it work? You simply use these goggles, slide them on, and you're in a whole new world.
It was so amazing to see the crowd waiting to see this, to share it. That was overwhelming. And then to be able to go to the out in space, I felt like I was there. I felt like I could do that again and again. I would love to do that. And as far as the free falling or the sky jumping, that was exciting, exhilarating. And if you've got a catalog of 100 different experiences, I want to do every one of them.
I guess I enjoyed the puppies. I felt like I was in a hole and they were right there in my face. And I reached out several times unconsciously to pet them. You know, they're right there.
I've actually been begging Gwen to submit a wish for like the last 2 years. And so I just had been, just saying, if you could wish for anything, what would it be? And she didn't know and she didn't know. And then one day she said, I have a wish. And I was thrilled to hear about this virtual reality opportunity. And then once the wish is approved, that's when I really get involved, working with Wish of a Lifetime, spending many hours on the phone with them in Colorado. And once they found this company, MyndVR, it sort of boggled my mind that there was a company that was focused on senior-specific virtual reality, because you can't ask for more. It's a great combo.
I would love to go on a safari, but I don't see that that's in the near future. So instead of just reading it in National Geographic, you can go there, and I think that's great.
We're just so fortunate to have this so quick. After it was mentioned, then we said, really? They're going to be able to do all this here? And then they're going to leave it with us for a little while so we can still see things? Yeah, I'm real thankful.
I asked many of our residents, have they ever experienced something like that before? And no, it's new to them. So it was cool to see them, move their hands and, their body motion and body language as they were reacting to whatever they were seeing in front of them. Not only was it entertaining, but it was exciting.
So here at Freedom Village, independent living, I'm responsible for about 400 folks, and I would say we've had at least 150 here today, so it was really great turnout, and everybody's really excited to come to try out this virtual reality, and I'm thrilled that we get to partner with our assisted living and skilled nursing and memory care next door, that we can do programming for them, because I think it's really going to be meaningful for those folks that can't get out of bed or can't get out of a wheelchair. I think it's going to be awesome for the entire community. And we had leadership and management and all of our directors here working the different stations, so we really pulled together as a team to experience it, play around with the technology, which was cool, and then be able to share that with our residents, which was so rewarding.
I thought I would get dizzy, but I didn't experience that. It just, all of a sudden I got to looking, how far you can go, and you look way down the beach, and it was lovely.
It exceeds my expectations. It's remarkable. I couldn't be happier.